No, you can't. Okay, hang on, come back. Let's elaborate a bit further, shall we? Let's give the question its due. And the question is, can I hunt with my replica gun? Okay, well, there's a couple of different things we should probably cover in the video. One is whether or not you can, and one is whether or not you should. And we'll look at that from a number of different sort of perspectives and standpoints. And when I say whether or not you should, I don't mean should you hunt generally. If you choose to hunt for whatever reason, that's none of my business. I don't. For me, I use these to shoot at paper targets and cans and so on and so forth. But I'm not going to stand here and tell you what you should or shouldn't do, because that's not my place. So I'll kind of avoid the whether or not people agree with hunting, because that's a broader topic and not one really for discussion here. We're talking about replica air guns. Okay, so I guess one thing I would ask is, why are you hunting in the first place? And there's a whole host of reasons. People might go, well, I like the outdoors, but I want to do something a bit more active while I'm outdoors. Okay, fine. If we go right back to basics, people might say, well, I feel like I would want something if there was a end of the world situation. Let's say there was an apocalyptic situation and I had to fend for myself, and I wasn't ready to go onto a vegetarian diet at that point. I would need to hunt to survive. At which point, if you're using an air gun, unless it's one of the more powerful air guns in a large caliber, then you're looking at what? Rabbits, squirrels, things like that in the UK. If that's what you're after, if that's your kind of quarry, I would suggest get an air rifle. Personally, I would suggest it in that situation. I'd probably want a 2.2 air rifle, something like that. Something that's going to hit a bit harder than something like this HK VP9 4.5mm CO2 powered replica air gun. Again, I don't know much about it, but I wonder if the noise of the CO2 might scare away anything that you were hoping to get if you didn't get it with the first shot. So anyway, yeah, if it's for prepping or for food or survival, it's not the right tool for the job. Okay? What else then? Well, what if you are one of those people who hunt for pleasure? Maybe it's a hobby. Maybe it's you like the sense of challenge of being out and about, again in nature, and you get a sense of achievement where you've, I guess, outwitted or outsmarted or whatever, outstalked your prey, whatever reason you want to do it. If it's just for pleasure and you're out there, then again, this isn't the right tool for the job, because you're not going to necessarily have the accuracy you want from this. You're not necessarily going to have the power you want from this. So again, you're probably better with a .22 or a .177 caliber pellet shooting air rifle, I would imagine. I mean, a 2.2 is going to hit harder. A 177, some people would argue it's really just a target round. Although I know that you can hunt with a 177 and people do successfully. But again, this isn't the right tool for the job, is it? This BB gun. And for the same reason that you wouldn't use a water pistol to put out a burning building, this perhaps isn't the right sort of thing for you if you're out there hunting. Which brings me to really one of the main reasons that people would often speak to me about using something like this for hunting or for dispatching prey, and that would be the subject of pest control. Okay, so when it comes to pest control, people go, do you know what? It's not that I've chosen to go out hunting. It's not that it's a pastime of mine. And guess what? It isn't the apocalypse, so I don't need it for survival. It's just that I happen to own a couple of these things, maybe, and then I had a bit of a mouse problem, or I spotted a rat or something like that. And this was all I had to hand. So in that sort of situation, is this sort of thing going to be capable of the job? Okay. So, once again, let's look at, is this the best tool for the job? Again, CO2 noise, if you don't hit something the first time, the noise of that pop of CO2 is likely going to scare the animal away, I would assume. The other thing is, small animals can, although they're very sort of diminutive in size, they can be quite resilient. If you get a mouse or a shrew or something like that, they can be very fast, they can be very sneaky, they can get all over the place and under things and in things and around things, and you've got very little chance of getting it to stand still while you use this gun, while you take aim and fire. Taking aim and firing is an issue as well, isn't it? Because when you've got a BB gun like this, you know that they are not massively accurate. They're okay for non-essential things like shooting a target, but when your shot has to hit a very specific point, these aren't the best things for the job because they shoot ball bearings, and BBs are not that accurate, especially BBs fired down a non-rifled barrel. If it's something you want to dispatch, you're going to want to use a pellet, as I said before, in a rifled barrel, something that is a bit more accurate. So, if you're looking for something like a shrew, and you go, well, what if I put a bit of cheese down for the mouse? Let's say, put a bit of cheese down, and then he's going to stay in one position. Oh, unlike my camera, then he's going to stay in one position, and then I can take aim. Well, if you're going to do that, why not just put a trap down? For the most part, if it's a small thing like a mouse or a shrew or something like that, it might be the best thing to just put a humane trap down and entice it rather than you wasting your time chasing it around with one of these things. You're going to get all hot and bothered, and that mouse could ultimately win at the end of the day. So maybe in most cases, a trap would be better. Catch it and release it, and everything's hunky-dory. There's balance back to nature. Larger animals, squirrels and things like that, can be even more resilient. A squirrel can be incredibly hard to kill even when you've got the right thing, if you're not hitting it in the right place. So these really are not up for the task. Although it might look the business. It looks like a lovely gun, and it, don't get me wrong, it is a lovely gun, the VP9. It's an Umarex product, but it's kind of a replica of a HK VP9. Really nice gun, looks the part, but it isn't what it looks like. It's just a BB gun at the end of the day. Now, it's not a toy, and I'm not saying that. I'm not saying these aren't harmful, but the problem is they are harmful without being fatal, and that's a real issue when it comes to the kind of the moral standpoint. Not the moral standpoint of hunting, but the moral standpoint of how you end a life. If you're going to do it, you don't want to maim, you don't want to hurt, you don't want to injure that thing, whether it's a pest or not. You want to, if you're going to kill something, do it in the most humane way possible, and you can't do that with one of these. So, my advice would be get a cat. Yeah, you've got a natural deterrent to pests and one heck of a hunter. If you want a ratter or something to dispatch prey on your land, cats are really good. And for those larger pests, well, So, they're not accurate enough. They're not powerful enough, to kill a squirrel or something. You look for something really that shoots at around and about, I would suggest, above 500 feet per second, possibly 600 feet per second or above, actually. And most of these shoot at around and about 300 feet per second. And there's a big range. You can get ones that shoot around 4. You get ones that shoot around 2. But for the most part, your standard kind of replica BB gun is shooting slightly over or slightly under 300 feet per second, which just isn't adequate. The blowback, you're going to lose a bit of CO2 with something like this. Every time it blows back, you're losing CO2, which means you're losing a little bit of power in your shot, and that's an issue. Okay, but if I were to play devil's advocate, and I were to say, okay, well, forget this, forget that, I've got this other gun, and it's still a BB gun, but I've had it through the chrono and it's there around 400 feet per second. Still not adequate, I hasten to add. But this is non-blowback, so it's just going to be better. It's probably going to be more accurate because my hand's not moving. It's still not powerful enough. This is the SP2022 by KWC, sometimes branded up as the SIG SP2022, the SIG Pro. But in this case, this is just the KWC sort of non-branded version. Fixed slide, but metal slide, and a lot of weight to it. Nice gun, accurate and powerful as well. You can see there's a non-working hammer there. Powerful as well. It looks, again, you've got a full-size magazine. Looks like the real thing, but it's not going to help you if you're trying to hunt some sort of pest in or around your home or garden. So, yeah, with the power lacking, you're just going to injure or maim the animal, and frankly, I would frown on that personally. I don't think it's right, just morally. I think if you're going to do something, do it properly, or don't half-arse it. Okay, so let's get rid of that. We've eradicated the BB gun from the hunting debate, but I hear you cry. I've got one of these. This is the Glock 17 Gen 5 21 round pellet pistol. Now, it blows back, so you're going to lose a bit of your CO2. And this is a pellet pistol. It has a rifled barrel, so it is going to be more accurate. A pellet is probably better for dispatching an animal as well, because it's going to break up. A lead pellet is going to break up, and that's often how they are more effective than something like a steel BB, which isn't going to break up on impact. It's a pellet pistol, same issue regarding blowback, but it's only a .177 caliber again, so it's not a massive round. It's not going massively fast. I would say probably, same as I said right at the start of the video, a .22 caliber would be better as they hit harder, but the only replica I'm aware of that is kind of chambered, if you will, in 22 is the Webley revolver. I think it's the Mark 6, which even that only shoots around, I think it's just over 400 feet per second. I think it's between 400 and 430 or 450. But still, it's it looks the part, but it's not the best thing you could use for that job. So, no, this isn't going to do it either. That's not really going to cut the mustard. Let's set that down to one side. But I'm new to air guns, let's say. Let's say you've got somebody who says, I don't know much about air guns or anything like this, but what if I get, and bear with me, a really big gun? Something like that, something like this Smith & Wesson 629 Classic. Again, pellet pistol, long old rifled barrel. Surely that would do the trick. I mean, look at the size of it. Completely irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. If this was a real firearm, yeah, it might carry a large round. In real firearms, you've got differences to the power based on the ammunition that they carry. Not so with air guns. This is still powered by a 12-gram CO2 bulb. This still has .177 caliber pellets in it. So there's no difference between that and that in terms of that ammunition hitting its target. One or the other might be more accurate, might be more comfortable to hold, easier to aim, better sights, but essentially when it comes to power and accuracy, there's going to be very little difference. Just because it looks like a bigger gun doesn't mean it is a more effective gun, certainly in the air gun world. The other thing is, if you're walking around the woods or the forests or whatever, and you're carrying something that looks like that, as opposed to something that is designated as a hunting air gun and it isn't trying to be a replica of anything, you could really worry somebody. You could really panic somebody if they thought that was a real firearm, and that just brings down a world of hurt for them and for you, because you don't want to be misunderstood. We don't want these taken off us, because we can enjoy these under certain conditions, in our back gardens, in our homes or whatever, on private land. We can enjoy these, and we don't want to spoil that by sort of parading around and getting ourselves in all sorts of trouble with the with the law. Speaking of law, there will be, even if you are hunting with a legitimate, air rifle that is not intended for aesthetics or for its looks, like a replica perhaps is, there will be specific laws in your area as to what power is acceptable, what minimum feet per second is acceptable, what type of ammunition you must use, and in what conditions you can use those guns. So that's worth mentioning as well. So, I'm not saying that there aren't pistols that can be used for hunting. I'm not saying that there are not air pistols that you can use for hunting. But to my knowledge and in my opinion, I'm yet to find one that is an accurate replica of a real steel firearm, chambered in something like 22, that is powerful enough and accurate enough for the purpose of hunting, regardless of the reason you might be hunting. So if you've got one of these, enjoy having it, enjoy the ownership of it, but you use it for targets, use it for plinking in the back garden, and I hope that answers the question. Are they up to the task? No, not so much, no. Is it a good idea to try and use one of these? I would say not, which brings me right back to the start of the video. Can you use your replica gun for hunting? No. Take care, all the best, stay safe, bye.